it looks like I'm your first speaker today. So why not start off with a question? A question to all of you. How many of you have faced change in your life before? Change of any kind, big or small. Keep your hands up. See a lot of hands? All right, cool. Now, don't put them down yet. How many of you have adapted to this change? Learned from it? Keep your hands up if this applies to you. Cool. Okay, put your hands down. We'll come back to this later. And before I begin, I'm going to give a warning, a notice. To those of you sitting in maybe the first few rows, so the first few tables over there, you guys should be extra careful today. Because if I want to ask the audience any questions, I'm asking it to you guys, not to the people at the back. So just setting that straight. So what are you waiting for? Let's begin. Let's start with the story, my story. I was born on a Wednesday in May 2009 in Texas, USA. That was the start of my story, my journey. And from that moment onwards, my life unfolded in ways that I could never have imagined at the time. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's finish the story. Over the next 11 years of my life, I moved to over 5 states across the country and even more schools. And what did that mean? It meant a changing environment, changing home, changing friends, changing school, a change in everything. But I got used to it. Each time, I got back up. It was in 5th grade that things started to settle down for me. Things started to calm down. That year was a great one for me. I joined a lot of competitions. I got selected. I made new friends. I read a lot of books. Things were great. It was at the end of 5th grade that disaster struck. Something global. Something I'm sure all of you have heard about. Any guesses? About the year 2019? Oh, I heard it. COVID-19. That's right. The pandemic. The pandemic was unlike anything we've ever seen before. Something completely new. A totally different way of living life. We had online classes. We stayed at home, spent time with family. And things were different, but life still went on. 1.5 years later, and then, again, things started to settle down. The pandemic was ending, and we came back to in-person school. This time, I was in 7th grade. I was excited, but I was a middle schooler now. And what did that mean? I couldn't be carefree like 5th grade anymore. I had homework to do, assignments to catch up on. And to be honest, grades mattered. I had to get good grades. But it was okay. I still got through it. I spent time with my friends. I did good in school. I joined clubs, and I had a lot of fun. I consider 7th grade a success. It was at the end of 7th grade, the end of that very year, that something happened. Something that changed my life. A decision. A decision made by my parents, along with my sister and I, to move here, to India. And so we did. Now, why we moved here doesn't matter. It's not part of the story. What matters is that we came. And in June of 2022, the first time ever, I stepped foot into the campus of SSVM, this school, as a 9th grader. And at that time, I didn't know if I would do good in school, if I could get good grades, pass my exams, because the education system here was different from what I was used to. And I didn't know anyone. I wasn't used to the weather. That was okay. I still made it through. I got to know everyone. I became part of the community. Now if you ask anyone in 12th grade, I'm sure they'll at least know my name, that I exist. And I did good in school as well. I got good grades and I topped my class. Okay. After that, things went on. 2 more years. It was in 11th grade that another decision was made. This time, just a few months ago, in July, it was another decision. My mom and my sister were going back to the US with my dad, and I was to stay here with my grandparents. So once again, my life changed, and I changed as well. And after that, here I am, standing before you, delivering this talk, telling you this very story. Now, you may be wondering, why is this kid telling me his whole autobiography from the day he was born to this very day? Well, I'm sure a lot of you are bored, and I feel you. I've been on the other end of these talks before. But if there's anything I've learned from this story of all my years of change, it's that no one can escape change. Not me, not you, no one. No matter how rich, how powerful you are, it doesn't matter. Change is inevitable. But what we can do is adapt to that change, to be flexible, to grow. Growing, changing, learning. That's what my story is truly about. For me, it was getting used to a life of constant moving and shifting. And for you, it may be something else. This change could be anything, physical, social, emotional. I'll never know. Only you know. And the only thing we can really do is change with the change. We have to change ourselves. And that's what I call the art of being a chameleon. And for those of you who are wondering, a what now? Let me explain. As some of you may know, a chameleon is a peculiar little animal, a type of lizard. And what's special about it is its ability to camouflage, to change colors. That's what sets it apart. And it's this power that I'm going to be talking about today, why we should embrace it. Now, I'm sure that many of you, when you think of a chameleon, you're probably like, oh, that's disgusting, or find it repulsive. And others might see it as someone who's double-faced, one who lies, one who deceives, one who shapeshifts, someone who can't be trusted. But there's another side to the same coin, a good chameleon of sorts. And that's what I want to talk about today. That's what this talk is about. Now, when I say we should be like a chameleon, let me set one thing clear. I don't mean that we should blend into the background, be one with the crowd, the same as everyone else. No. We have to stay unique, who we are, true to ourselves. But that doesn't mean we can't change. Change for the better. We have to have growth mindsets and open-mindedness to change. That's what being a chameleon is truly about. Changing in ways that make us better, stronger human beings, not in ways that are bad or detrimental for us. Now, before I move on, I want to do one thing, an experiment. I'm going to prove to you that we all have a chameleon within us. Every single one of us. They're just maybe asleep. To do this, I'm going to use a childhood phrase of mine. Something we like to say in like 4th, 5th grade, that time. When the teacher's gone, the party's on. So I want you all to picture this. Close your eyes for a moment, everyone. I see some eyes open in the back. Close your eyes. Okay. Now imagine this. You're sitting in the classroom, the second bench, and you're surrounded by your friends. You're talking, having a great time, and of course, the teacher isn't here, right? So that great moment. Imagine how you'd be feeling at the time, what you'd be thinking, what would be running in your mind, how would you act? Think about that for a moment. Okay, done? You can open your eyes now. Now, there's a second part to this childhood phrase that I didn't tell you. When the teacher's gone, the party's on. When the teacher's here, hide the beer. So now, imagine a similar situation, but this time, the teacher walks in. They come in through the door, and you all go silent. They walk up to the front of the classroom, and they decide to ask a question. A question to you. You over there, get up. Answer this. So now you have to answer. Now, imagine how you'd feel at that moment, how you'd act, what you'd say. You think it'd be the same as how you felt when you're talking with your friends, or different? Think about that. For me, it would be surely different, and I'm expecting the same for many of you. And this shows that we all have a chameleon within us, the power to change based on the situation. When talking with our friends, we can be loud and jovial. When talking with our elders, we have to be respectful and humble. We have to be different. Let me give you another example. If you remember, at the very beginning of this talk, I asked those of you in the front to be extra careful. While those of you in the back, I didn't tell you guys anything. So, again, we're in different situations. Those of you in the front may be wondering, is he going to ask us a question? If so, what is he going to ask? Or is he just scamming us, playing with our minds? I guess you'll never know. But one thing that I'm sure about is that those of you in the front, what's going on in your mind and what you're acting like is probably different than those in the back. They can talk, they can sleep. I'll never know, and I won't ask them questions, so they're not worried. It's not the same for all of you. So again, even in similar situations, just a few feet apart, people act differently under different circumstances. And this shows that this power is an innate human characteristic, something that's common to all of us. But what's not common to all of us is how much we use this power, how much we embrace it. That's what sets people apart. That's what matters. So, I'm sure a lot of you right now are probably thinking, why does he keep talking and talking and talking? It's boring. And I understand you. It's the same feeling that you have when you're in math class, the teacher's writing formula after formula on the board, and you're thinking, why am I learning this? When am I ever going to use this in life? Well, let me tell you one thing. All this theory that we learn in school, like math, we will need it in life. But what we need even more is how to be a chameleon. Because the world is a harsh place, and only those who adapt and change, only they survive. To illustrate this point, let me give you guys a real-life example of change, something that's close to all of our hearts. And for this, I'm going to be using a company. So, are there any guesses of what company I'm talking about? I heard it somewhere. Netflix. Exactly. The company that keeps us glued to our screens every weekend, wondering what we're doing with our lives. Netflix. The company that lets us watch movies and shows whenever we want. And right now, we know Netflix as a massive streaming service. But it wasn't always like this. Let me take you back to the year 2007. At that time, Netflix wasn't what we know it is today. At that time, Netflix was a DVD rental service. They would give DVDs, deliver them to you, you would watch your movie, and then you'd return it. And it seems really old-fashioned now, but at the time, people loved it. But how do they go from that to what they are today? What happened in those years in between? This is where they adapted, they shifted, they became the very definition of a chameleon. They saw that the world was changing, consumer behavior and technology was going further, and they pivoted. They saw that streaming was the future and that the DVDs would go the way of the floppy disk, discarded, obsolete, and useless. And this is where Netflix stands out, because this change is what brought them to where they are today. And let's imagine something. The boardroom meetings, when they first proposed this idea, someone going and saying, bro, let's put our movies on the internet. And someone else being like, yo, how do you know if that works? We have a good business right now. Just continue. Because whenever there's change, there's always those who are skeptical, those who are afraid. But it doesn't have to be this way. If Netflix hadn't changed, we wouldn't be where we are today, watching movies at home. When there's change, we shouldn't fear it. We should embrace it. We have to be the change. And what's important about this story that I told you about Netflix is that it doesn't just apply to large companies or big people. No, it applies to every single one of us, no matter how small or insignificant we may feel. We all have the power to be a chameleon and to change. And I know that change can be hard. Sometimes it feels like the world is shifting beneath your feet and that we're just running to keep up. But it doesn't have to be that way. Change doesn't have to be something that breaks us, that snaps us, that overwhelms us. No. Change can be something that rather shapes us, that helps us grow, that makes us stronger. Because when you start thinking like a chameleon, someone who can adapt, learn, and just keep going no matter what hits them, then you'll realize that you not only survive the change, but come out stronger on the other side. Now, some people have told me that my life was easy, no real challenges or threats. And in part, I do agree with them. I didn't live on the brink of death, worrying whether I'd get my next meal or not. No. But I didn't feel that my life was easy. For me, it certainly wasn't. And I'm sure that all of you have your own problems and situations to deal with as well. Right? We all have our unique things in life. What matters is that we adapt to them. We can't change our problems, our situations. What we can change is ourselves. We have to change so that the situation becomes simpler. The task becomes easier. We have to make ourselves stronger. That is what being a chameleon is about. Because remember, in the end, only those who change can grow. Only those who grow can succeed. And those who succeed and continue to adapt, continue to embrace the chameleon, those people, they are truly happy. So embrace the chameleon within you. Evoke what lies within. Awaken the chameleon and embrace the changes. Thank you.